Thank you very much for accepting my invitation and accepting to be on my show.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity. If I understand correctly, is it midnight where you're at?
I'm from India.
Yes, is
Yeah,
it
it's
midnight
it's
there?
midnight. Yeah, it's 10
I
p.m. here.
thought so. Well, thank you for staying up.
It's an honor for me to present you and your work to my audience.
Well, I'm so excited. I don't know. I'm so excited to get started and thank you so much just for this opportunity.
So I can see that you are doing a lot of work. So I thought to tell about your work to my audience. So can you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So my name is Stevie Frank, and I am a technology integration specialist for my community here in Zionsville Community Schools, which I am located in the United States in Indiana. And so that is where I am actually currently living from. Now, I love to do everything ed tech. So anytime that I could add an ed tech tool into my classroom of every day, that's what I was going to try to do. And so what I've really enjoyed is leaning into different parts of technology. My biggest projects that I'm excited about have been student podcasting and also just trying to find out how I can better assess my students using really great technology and using the best types because I feel like there's so much out there. I really like to just hone in on what I think are the best ones.
So technology integration specialist, what it means and what the role and responsibility.
Oh, that's such a great question. So that is my really long title. And the title that I really like to be called is just a technology coach or a digital learning coach. And so what I do is I travel around my district and I meet with teachers one-on-one in coaching sessions. So a lot of times that'll look like teachers reaching out to me and saying, hey, I've got this unit about the moon phases and I wanted to assess my students or I wanted them to learn with using technology, what are some ideas that we can come up with? And so I meet with that teacher one-on-one or with their grade level team or subject team. And then we just kind of come up with some really great ideas to have that assessment taken. And so that is one part of my role. Another part of that role also looks like me going into different schools and providing professional development. So a lot of times if there's a district initiative or if there's a new piece of technology, my role then is to go into those schools and give that professional development to teachers. Now, the third role, and this is the final part of my job, is kind of keeping up on the latest and greatest of technology. So this is where that technology innovation really comes in. So right now, all of the buzz in education is around AI and artificial intelligence. And so part of my job is also to lean into those practices so that I understand them, so that I can provide, again, that professional development with teachers. And then the cycle goes on from there.
That's great. It's a wonderful work. Before asking the next question, can you be a little backwards so that you can fit in the screen? I want to present you. Yeah, this is perfect. Yeah. So my next question is, what is your background? What is your educational background? What you have studied?
Great question. So my educational background is I have been in education in the classroom for 13 years. This is my first year outside of the classroom when I stepped into a role of coach. So all in all, I've had about 14 years of education. Now, within that, I have also gone back to get my master's in education in language education reading license. So reading and language arts are at the core of my love and my heart. And so I really enjoy that. And again, it just really kind of goes along with technology as well. So I felt like I couldn't do any of those things well without integrating technology into that realm that I was at.
So how many students got affected or how many students got benefit from your teachings?
That is such a great question. So I just recently was counting them up because it was Teacher Appreciation Week and I was filling out one of those templates. And so I think it was close to about 400 students that I believe that I have had the honor of teaching to.
So what subjects in technology you most focus on?
So I haven't specifically taught technology to students necessarily. I've really just taught them reading, writing, science, math, social studies, all of those subjects, and then integrated technology into those. Now, this past school year, I had a little innovative group, and we called them Zeek Squad members. Zeek kind of stands for the word geek. And then the school district that I work for is Zionsville. So we combined the two names together, and then we called it Zeek Squad members. And then from them, that is when I really leaned into them with different technology. So I taught them Microsoft Flip, Adobe Express. We also talked about Canvas because that was our learning management system. And so we really leaned into different practices of technology in that way.
So how you are able to be great in different subjects and integrate with technology?
So I'm such a sponge, and I want to learn as much as I possibly can from others. And so I watch your podcast as well as one of my forms of ways to say, okay, what is the latest, what's the greatest, and what is out there in order for me to become my better self. And so a lot of my learning is honestly is getting on my phone, getting on Twitter, and just kind of scrolling through and seeing what amazing educators are doing. So I have found myself in an amazing professional learning network on Twitter with the education and ed tech world. And I tell you what, every time I'm scrolling, I'm seeing amazing things happen around me every day. And I'm just so lucky that I get an opportunity to see this great work, try it out myself. And then that's why I like to share about it too. So I can also give back to the community that gives back to me so much.
So how is this you as educator experience?
Can you elaborate more on that? Like what kind of?
You interacting with students and trying to tell what you have learned. How this experience?
So I love to interact with different students around the classroom. So again, my basic interaction, I would say, would be that little Zeek Squad group of students that I do have. I also go into different teachers' classrooms and I co-teach with them. So sometimes if a teacher wants to see a different tool, let's say the most recent tool that I did was Book Creator, for example, and a teacher was like, hey, I want you to teach Book Creator to my students. I will co-teach with that teacher and also teach the teacher along the way at the same time to kind of give information for that tool.
So what you learn in order to teach teachers?
Yeah.
What technologies you learn to teach teachers?
So the different pieces of technologies that I learn, again, it's things that I learned from Twitter. So for example, like I said, I had seen somebody use Book Creator, which is a great app. It's a great ed tech tool app, which allows students to interactively write down books and add little pictures and images and GIFs and stickers. And so what I do is then I will go in and I will teach with the teacher too. I get my information also from Microsoft Learn. So Microsoft Learn puts on these amazing courses that are asynchronous, so you can do them on your own to really kind of learn how to get those done. And amazing, again, YouTube videos too that are just really great and interactive so that I can learn my way around a tool.
So what is your observation on technology? How technology services or products are helping human beings to learn things or solve problems?
Wow, that is such a big question. I would say the best, and especially my mind right now is just really into AI. So artificial intelligence and looking at natural language processors like ChatGPT, for example, that's coming out, and really leaning into those practices and thinking about how those products can help our students be more creative and kind of raise the ceiling for them in order for them to really become the best learners that they can be. So what I really enjoyed about being a part of learning about artificial intelligence is seeing just not how, because I'm hearing a lot from educators of like, well, it's taking the creativity out of the classroom or taking creativity out of the students' hands. And I look into it as just saying, well, that is a way that they can use it to help enhance their creativity. So really it's kind of reframing minds and rethinking, okay, what does technology look like and what does that look like in the classroom? Because we have to prepare our learners for today for what the world looks like for when they graduate. So they're not going to, have a job where there's absolutely no technology. That's not realistic. And so part of our job as educators is to really get them ready for the world that they're going to be interacting in.
So as a technology integrator specialist, how ChatGPT or AI tools in the internet are helping humans to understand the subjects, and what is the difference between human educating humans and AI educating humans?
Such a great question. So the big part about this is just ensuring that teachers know what AI is and what ChatGPT is. And it was funny because I immediately wanted to type that question into ChatGPT and see what it comes out with, because that is really what's going to kind of help our minds and wanting us to think about it. It's kind of like the adage of where, oh, well, if you had a question, you had to go look in a book, or, if you just had a random question, like if you were driving and you were like, I wonder how that oil well is working out in the middle of the field. Before you would just have that question and you would never have that answer. But now, because we have smartphones, we have the power of a search engine, I can look on my phone and Google a YouTube video and say, how does an oil well work? And what does the pump look like? And how does it get the oil from the ground? And I'm able to get an answer. And so because of that, that's just made us all smarter as human beings. And that was technology teaching me about now that new knowledge that I have. So then it's the question of, well, if that's my baseline now, where can I go and how can I use artificial intelligence or technology to make me smarter if that's the direction that I want to go?
It's good that students having you as an educator who is like a sponge, who always absorb knowledge and information and latest technologies. So what you observe, what you absorb, and what kind of information that you want to tell to your students?
Really, the information I want to tell the students is don't stop learning. So the moment that I stop learning and I think, oh, well, I must know everything, then I don't know, I need to give up. I need to look in a different direction because clearly I'm not doing what I need to do. So really, I just want my students to want to seek information, and it comes down to just finding that what drives them, what is their love, what is their passion, and then using that to catapult them into a career or into a book that they want to read. And so I really think that at the core of every student that they have something that intrinsically motivates them. And it's just kind of, as a teacher, I think our jobs are to kind of dig and to say, okay, what is that? What makes you go? What makes you motivated? And where do you want to go from there?
So understanding students and understanding human beings, and it is a very big subject. It includes communication skills, it includes emotions, it includes intelligence, it includes a lot of things. And coming to technology, it's completely logical. So you are integrating that emotional side of the human beings with the logical side of the subject. So how you are being the integrator and how you are able to do that successfully. You have to be great in both.
I agree. And I think what I've really enjoyed is seeing how technology and different platforms haven't forgotten that social and emotional connection that teachers need with their students. So, for example, I'm thinking about like Microsoft Reflect, for example. And so Microsoft Reflect allows a literal technology space for students to be able to go on and reflect on their feelings and then maybe go through a meditative practice for them that's individualized based on how they're feeling for that time. There's also a great platform out there called Along that is completely free, and it was created so that teachers could have research-based questions that they would ask their students, and then their students would respond to in a writing prompt. So then with these questions, that teacher and that student relationship really grew a little bit closer together, which I thought was really, really cool. And so that was the thing that I hope that technology really keeps lifting up into the world of, emotional needs, because kids aren't going to want to learn in a classroom where they don't feel connected with their teacher. And so if we want students to listen to us, we have to listen to them, and we have to get to know them a little bit better, a lot of it better.
So how much technology you know?
That is such a broad question. Well, I know a lot of technology in the realm of education. And so I always try to make sure that I'm knowing as much as I possibly can. I feel like I know 1%, even though I think I know a lot more, just because it's so vast. I'm really great also with like educational tools and just kind of knowing a little bit about several. So my job is really just to make sure that I'm knowing about different products out there, but I'm not going to know all of them. And so that, I think, makes me have a little bit more, a little bit more leverage, just because then I'm able to turn to Twitter and bring that question out to my PLN and say, hey, does anybody know a great tool to use with writing with students? Or does anybody know of a great tool to make sure that we read for media literacy or read for a bias? And then I'm relying on a network of educators that are globally and around the United States to come back with me with answers. So just like I would tell my students, I don't know everything, but I can work on trying to get that answer.
So, like you said, you know a little bit of technology, and you're trying to tell that technology to the students, or using that technology for education purpose. So all the subjects that you have learned, you use technology for that.
Yes, I think that's the goal, and that is what I think is the optimal goal of technology, is that it comes up. It's not just like, oh, here's technology, and then here's reading, and then here's writing. I think it's here's technology through reading, here's technology through writing. It doesn't have to be this separate entity. It should be embedded into the classroom practice and into either delivering education, because I feel like technology, and especially with AI, is really going to enhance that individualized learning experience. So students are able to learn on their individual paths because AI has been able to go through and say, okay, you missed these problems. Now here's what you need to learn. And that, from a form of in the perspective of an educator, is priceless, because I can create one lesson for students, and then maybe a couple of individualized, groups. But in order to have a curriculum for every single student that's based on their needs and every single subject area, teachers just don't have that time. And so I'm really excited to see where technology is going to kind of help with that burden.
So how much time this AI is saving you?
It is actually saving me a lot of time, and I would say it's hard to put a number on it, but what I think it is doing is it's allowing me to come up with more ideas, or different ideas, than I would ever have thought. And that, to me, is amazing. So a lot of times if I have a question, I'll ask the chatbot, and if it's not giving me what I want, then I'm like, that's fine. Or I can learn to interact with it a little bit more, so I'm able to get more of the response that I'm looking for. So there's just different times where if I'm struggling with writer's block, or I'm struggling with the creativity process, and I'm like, I just need something down, I'll turn to AI just to kind of help me out with that.
So how students are getting benefit with this kind of education process?
With AI?
with technology?
So they're going through a process of really how I like to introduce technology is I like to say, okay, here's the tool. Let's learn the tool and let's learn it in low stakes. So a lot of times that looks like me just saying, okay, here is Microsoft Flip, for example, and then let's learn how to use the video tool. Let's learn how to use the text features. Let's learn how to use the tool first before I embed it in the curriculum. So a lot of times I will come in to teach that lesson about, okay, just here's where to click, here's where to go, here's how to add those interactive parts. And then the next time that I meet and I co-teach with their teacher, it's about using Flip in, like, let's say a language arts assignment when students are talking about a summary about a book.
Why you wanted to be an integrator?
So that's a great question. It's always just become natural to me to want to integrate technology. And so the district that I work at is a one-to-one device, meaning that every student has their own computer, and then that's how they learn. Now, I always was amazed at how students became more engaged. They were excited whenever they got their computers out. And if I showed them a new piece of technology, it was like, oh, it's like this shiny new thing. And it just made them motivated to want to do the project. And so for me, if I was just talking about, okay, well, what's best practice as me as a teacher, it was always integrating technology. Now, a position opened up in my district, and then I had applied for it and interviewed for it. And it's a long process. And so I was just so grateful that they were able to see what I was doing in the classroom to see then how I could impact the district.
So you are a user for a lot of technology products and services. So you are understanding the experience of users also about the technology that you are using. So how much does Microsoft or other technology companies that the products or the services that you are using for, how much it is easier and friendly and faster to understand for education purpose?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. First of all, I feel like whenever there's something new, or I feel like a lot of times with Microsoft, they're just updates, right? So they're like, okay, well, we've had the thing now. How do I use it? And how do I make it better? And so a lot of part of my job that I do is that professional learning where I'm watching videos, I'm scrolling on Twitter, on YouTube, and I'm going through those Microsoft Learn courses, and I'm learning the tool. I'm hopping on calls too. I think a lot of some ed tech companies have really great support. So they have a person that meets with people like me, and I say, hey, I'm going to have a professional development on, the one that I just had one with was Book Creator. And I said, hey, I'm going to do a professional development on Book Creator or on Seesaw, and I really need some support. Can you meet with me? And so they'll meet with me virtually and then teach me the product. Now, my job is to make this basic. How can I make this easy for teachers? How can I make this easy for students? And so really that's been my push of just making sure that I have enough information to then be able to present it to teachers. Now, through my Zeek Squad members, it's a group of like third grade and fourth grade. I also do it at the middle school, and I pick about 2 kids from each class. So two from each classroom, so like a boy and a girl. I try to get at least 1 boy and 1 girl from each class, and then those students, then I teach them pieces of tech. Now, a big reason why I do that is so that if their teacher is utilizing that piece of technology, they're the experts in the classroom. So then if the teacher is like, okay, wait, how do I do this? Or because it's overwhelming sometimes to roll out something new, especially technology, into a bunch of 8-year-olds. So if they can have some little helpers that go around and help them too, then that's also another way that I've been trying to get that knowledge base of technology into classrooms.
So you taught different subjects before, right? So the technology that we have today, or the educational technology tools that you are using, uh, do you really think that those tools are 100% helping these subjects to send to the minds of the students?
I do. Now, let me backtrack. Not 100% of them, no. And I think that's a lot about part of my job is to also investigate them and make sure they're good. So a lot of times if I'm new to a piece of technology, I will get on a call with somebody that works from there. I will also kind of go through people from my professional learning network and say, okay, how did this work for them? Do they like it? Do they not like it? What are pros? What are cons? And as a district perspective, we have to look at cost. And so if that particular EdTech tool is just too expensive, we can't afford it. So then I also have to look at, okay, well, if I like this tool, what does our district have to offer? That would be less money, if you will. And so those are some other things that I think about too.
So the requirement makes you to investigate about the tool, or you first find the tool and introduce to people?
Both. It's a conjoined effort. Anytime something comes up, even sometimes like academic services will reach out to us and say, hey, here's a tool that we heard about. Can you all, as integrators, look it up, see it? Is it good? Is it not? Is it cost efficient? What does it look like? And then some of our jobs is also to pilot it. So a lot of times I'll ask for like one class or one teacher to try out a tool before we enroll it into an entire district.
Education and educator for education is a separate profession. It is a profession which a lot of people are working in the world, and technology is a separate profession. A lot of experts and a lot of people are working in that. So two different professions, and two different professions. You are understanding both, and how you are being curious about two different things, two different subjects, and being integrator for two different subjects. You have to be extremely understanding before you tell to other people, right?
Exactly. And that was something that I really had to, when I got into this position, I realized the value of what it looked like to really make sure that I set time aside to be a content area master. So, for example, I'm really trying to dive into artificial intelligence and see how it is going to be, it's changing education, and it is changing rapidly fast. And so, for example, I was on a call with a couple of people from Microsoft that were talking about some of these, updates that are going to be happening in the future. So a lot of my time is also spent on, okay, I need to understand it first, because if I don't understand it, my teachers aren't going to understand it. So that's sometime I've really been intentional with recently, is blocking time out of my day to learn about artificial intelligence. So then I'm able to help, not just students, not just teachers, but even administrators, because it is something that is so rapidly changing. Like, somebody's got to do it. And so trying to find that time has been challenging, but it's definitely been something that I realized I needed to do.
You're making tougher things easier. So how much time you take in order to make this happen, or make this happen for people who requires it?
That's a really great question. So it really just depends on the day, and it depends on what I've got going on. So, for example, the last, I would say like 2 to 3 weeks has really slowed down for me in the realm of coaching cycles. So a coaching cycle looks like me meeting with a teacher to lesson plan, me co-teaching the lesson plan, and then me reflecting with the teacher. How did it go? What do we need to change? And so it's kind of slowed down because we have a lot of testing going on, like standardized tests. And so a lot of that has kind of slowed down. Well, I'm never one to sit back and just let anything, I always have to stay busy. So I've really been diving into the world of artificial intelligence. And so more recently, I've been able to dedicate like an hour or an hour and a half, 2 hours, just to really learn about artificial intelligence attend webinars and just really kind of lean into learning about it because it is so quickly changing. It's like every time I get on a webinar or I get on a call, I'm like, oh, something new. And so it's just really trying to absorb all of that information is pretty time consuming.
So what is the what age group does students belong to? Because technology is something that, that they should adopt, right?
Exactly. So I support teachers in kindergarten through 8th grade. And so that's so different, right? And so I think also what's part of my role is to know when is technology coming up to enhance the learning, but then especially when I go down to kindergarten and 1st grade, I really have to think, okay, is this technology going to take away from the time of learning or is it going to enhance? Because a lot of times if you have 6-year-olds logging into an iPad or logging into a Chromebook, is that really enhancing their education? Is it going to be worth it? Because they have to learn how to use a computer. But a lot of my job too is being like, kids got to learn how to use a computer, right? Like this is how they're going to do school for a while. So really kind of differentiating what that looks like in each grade level is always something, and it's still something that I'm learning because my teaching background was 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. So I student taught in 3rd, I taught 4th, I taught 5th. I substitute taught too, and I substitute taught kindergarten through 8th grade. But it was still one of those things, substitute teaching is different than when you're actually a teacher in the classroom. And so all of that experience has really helped me to do is to realize, okay, a lot of times it's just kind of listening and seeing what the teacher needs too. So that's been something I've been working on too.
So what are the greatest things that you observed in AI?
Oh gosh, I would have to say that that individualized learning experience for students and time saving that it can do for teachers. So teachers are all of the time and with extreme fidelity trying to fit everything into their contracted time. And teachers are amazing human beings and they simply cannot do it all. And so if I can, as a technology integration specialist, come up and say, hey, let me take something off your plate if you use AI, I have just given that teacher back time. And that time might look like them being able to be better intentional with lesson planning, or maybe that time looks like them leaving earlier and going and spending time with their family. And so that stuff to me has been, I would say, the best that I've learned from AI. That's for the teacher. Now for the perspective of the student, there is no way, and I mentioned this before, there's no way that a teacher could possibly provide an individualized learning experience for every single student. So AI does is it goes through, for example, Microsoft Reading Coach. It goes through and it will have a student read aloud. It'll determine which words they miscued on. And then through Microsoft Coach, it will help them coach them through how to pronounce the word correctly and then allow them that practice time. There is no way as a classroom teacher I would be able to do that with 25 kids all at one time. So that's some of the integration that I've seen, and that's been probably the coolest.
So what if artificial intelligence replaces humans' work?
That's a great question. So I don't know. I'm in a different camp where I don't think that artificial intelligence will replace human beings. And maybe I don't know enough and I can lean on that. What I have learned through interacting with a lot of artificial intelligence bots or, whatever chat bots or image creators or anything like that, the creativity that a human brain has and the intelligence that a human brain has is amazing. And so I am still, even though I'm utilizing all of those tools, my brain still has to come in. So my brain comes in and says, okay, here's how I can enhance that. What I'm excited about AI is if we are saying, okay, I put something into ChatGPT or I ask, Microsoft Bing for something or, there's a Google one, Bart. Can't remember his name. So if I ask any of those a question, that just immediately takes my time in half. Now what can I do with my time? I can make that better. So I've liked that integration. So I don't know. I mean, I guess stay tuned, right? Because there is a group of very educated people that are concerned with that very thing that you said.
So creating the technology experts' intention is to intention for creating or inventing any technology tool or service or product is to help human beings and reduce the effort, energy, time.
Yeah.
So you are regular user of these technology tools, and also you are helping people to use it. So how much it is effective? How effective these technology tools and services? How much productivity is being created with this?
I would say a lot of my productivity is being enhanced with AI. So for example, right now I'm writing a course. And so a lot of those questions I'm putting into ChatGPT, and I'm able to then go through, edit that information. And I would say my time seems to be cut in about a fourth. So I'm still spending a lot of time with it. I'm interacting with it. I'm responding back and forth to it. But I would say a lot of my time is then, being taken from that, which is great. Other places that AI has been living in our lives is like in grammar tools. So I don't know about you, but whenever I write something, I have spelling errors, I need comma placement, any of those grammatical tools, and AI is built in there to help it, to help it make it sound better and make it sound smarter. And so those things are definitely saving me a lot of time.
What is the highest level of AI you like?
So are you speaking to like generative AI, or are you talking about
Generally?
generally? So
Yeah.
there's quite a few different types of generative AI. I would say my favorite type of generative AI would just have to be the text-based. So in order to provide text has been most helpful to me to become more creative.
So there will be a lot of AI experts who will be watching and listening to you right now. So so what mistakes that you are observing in AI?
I would have to say, and first of all, if there are experts out there, you know so much more than I do, so thank you for even tuning in. The biggest issue that I think I would see of, specifically speaking towards ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT 4, has been its inability to truly explain something and get deep with it. So for example, it does a really great job with telling you what it wants to tell you instead of diving into it. It also repeats itself a lot. And so that's kind of something that I've noticed. Instead of it saying, it's like, here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this way. And then that's what it was like. And I'm like, okay, dive into this deeper. Can you, elaborate a little bit more on it? And I would say it's still, but I mean, I have to think about it. It's still in its infancy stage. So I know it's still learning with every interaction. But that has been my biggest, I guess, pitfall. It also likes to number things and bullet things. And a lot of like natural language is just talking and in paragraph form. And there's not a lot of like bullets or numbered lists. So I would have to say those would be my biggest pitfalls that I would notice with AI thus far.
So you are experiencing both the education without technology that you was in. Now you are seeing and you are into education where technology is educating human beings. So how do you define this difference?
Oh, that's a great question. So I would have to say the biggest difference is just in the realm of productivity and enhancing where we were at. And so I think that's a big component of it, is really just kind of looking at it and saying, okay, again, if I were in sixth grade and I had an essay that I had to write, I would put on that essay into ChatGPT, and then I would work with it more in making it sound better. Because I feel like a lot of the process of writing is sometimes just like getting your ideas down, and that is so time consuming. I really struggled with that, with trying to just get my ideas on paper. But once they were there, I was able to go through and edit it. And so I would be hoping that it just kind of enhances our student learning experience rather than taking it away. What I also see is there's some students with, learning differences. And so maybe there's something cognitive going on in their crystallized intelligence that is just not as like their peers are. And so if they're able to use artificial intelligence to kind of level that playing field or kind of remove that barrier, that is going to be really cool to witness, to see how can all students leverage AI to make sure that they have the same learning experience as their peers do.
So what is the percentage of students or teachers are able to use the technology and adapt to it and bring out the productivity and getting the education for students?
Gosh, I think we're years out from that question. And right now it's kind of like a time to be alive in the world of education, because it's like, let's sit back and see how this changes education. And I feel like this was probably felt when the World Wide Web came out. I bet educators were like, oh, what are we going to do now that kids can get on Google and ask questions that they used to go to the library with, and then what did the library do? The library adapted and started integrating different pieces of technology, into it. So now I've got like a Kindle, and I borrow books from my library. So I don't have to go into my library, but I can still, utilize its resources. So it'll be interesting to see how different pieces of education really shift into this new world.
So eventually, the education is conveying information in different mediums or in different platforms, and today we have latest platform and advanced tools in order to send this information to the small brains.
Yeah.
So how is it? How is it? Do you think the exact information that is there is going to the brains with the technology tools, or because different students will take information in different ways?
Oh, that's a good point. What I was concerned with that is that it seems like that was almost removing a teacher away. And what I think is so important is to really see how teachers can help facilitate that world, right? And how teachers can really kind of help those students to understand the world that they're in. I look at some students and some families, for example, where as soon as they sit down to dinner, they give their kids an iPad or their phones, or, and there's so much technology out there, and that interaction with human beings is just, kind of slowing down or taking a step back. And so as somebody who is in technology and loves technology, I have a no phone at dinner policy. Whenever I go out, and I have a 4 and 6 year old, and they both have iPads, and they use iPads at different times, but they only have an amount of time that they play that iPad, and it's all educational based games. And so that's kind of something that I want to ensure that we're doing as a society, is just really taking a look at, when are we using technology, and is that really, are you trying to replace that human connection, or are you just trying to enhance it? Because if you're sitting around, in a room with other people and everybody's on their phone, what are we doing there if you're both on social media, So I don't know. I definitely think that we need to think about how we're utilizing technology as a society, and utilizing and teaching into it, because my generation, we were just like handed a phone, and we were like, go. And we were like, okay, I don't know how to use it. And so I think as teachers and educators are great at this, leaning into, okay, how do we do this responsibly? How do we read for a bias, right? So chatbots just really read a lot of information that's already been out there. Is that information bias? How do we teach our kids how to read for a bias? How do we teach them, is this fact? How do they fact check something? So there's still a long way to go. And the most exciting part that I have about it is just knowing the power that our teachers have to come up beside our students, because they're amazing, and I know they will.
So students need to know what technology is before knowing about the subject.
I think you can do both simultaneously. In our 5th grade classrooms, for example, is their first one-to-one laptop experience. And me and another technology integration specialist push into classrooms and we're showing them, okay, here's your laptop. Here's how to hold it. Here's how to walk down the hall. Here's how to plug it in, and I think that, needs to be talked about too. What does digital citizenship look like? So it does need to be taught separately, yes. And when you're using it in the classroom, it should be taught alongside of it. Like, I'm going to teach you a writing unit. Of course, we're going to use our laptops, right? Of course, we're going to use Microsoft Word. Of course, we're going to use spell check. Those are of course, we're going to do that. At some point, they're going to say, okay, we're going to do a writing unit. Of course, you're going to use ChatGPT. Of course, you're going to, you know what I mean? It's just like if a teacher hands a kid a math test, they hand them a calculator, because that enhances their learning experience for that time.
And what is your observation about human, intelligence and artificial intelligence interaction? Like constant interaction, continuous interaction.
I don't think that's healthy. I think there needs to be a balance. I think humans can't rely on chatbots or AI to be in place of a human. I don't think that should happen. Now, if it is helping to enhance, then that's a different story. And so, I don't know. It was interesting that you say that, because I just noticed that Snapchat now has a new AI bot that was added to it. And I was a little because our younger audiences really tune in to Snapchat. And if they're going to be relying on this chatbot, talking with it, interacting with it like it's a human, are they going to, because I feel like that younger generation is already really tied to their phone. Is that really going to tie them to their phone and give them the illusion of having a relationship when they don't, rather than getting off the couch and interacting with their families? So I don't know. That's a cause for pause for me.
And is it important that artificial intelligence also need to have emotions like human beings in order to understand and interact properly and be empathetic, kind, and nice, respectful?
That's a good question. I think they should be kind. I think we should be very careful with how human-like we are asking robots or AI to be. And so, I don't know, I've started to hear kind of rumblings about different companies not making robots look like humans, and I'm 100% behind that. I do not think that people need to interact with artificial intelligence like they're a human and worry about its feelings. They should have manners. So whenever I use ChatGPT, I'm like, can you please do this for me? That's just having good manners. But if ChatGPT came back and said, I'm feeling sad today, I'd log off. I'd be like, that is enough for me. Like, I do not need to dig into why my artificial intelligence bot is not having a good day. So that's a fine line.
One last question. What security measures or what control system does AI need to have?
I think I don't think I know enough to even answer that question. So I would heavily rely on people that know this better. What I do know enough about to say is that the more that we have humans being in charge of different roles that are in charge of AI, that is where it needs to happen. Because then you're relying on humans to still be in that control and to make sure that it is monitored. And for me in education, I see it as being our teachers and being roles like mine where we're monitoring that use and just making sure that it's being responsible. Because like I said right now, if you go into an image generator and you ask it a question of school teacher, for example, you're just like, hey, a picture of a school teacher, it'll show you a white female. And that is completely biased, and that is not the demographics that we need to be talking to. So the only way that we know that is because we're human and we see that, and we've learned, we need to diversify images that we see. And so then it's humans adding that component into AI. So, as long as we have humans continually policing, I'm hopeful that we will continue to be on the right side.
I think you're very, very, very knowledge person in both understanding humans, also how this technology can be helpful to humans.
Well, thank you so much. I've done a lot of research, as you can probably tell, and listening to amazing podcasts like this. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be able to contribute to such a great network of yours.
So what is your observation about my work? Have you seen any videos of mine on YouTube?
I have, yes.
What's your observation? What do you say about it?
About your content?
Yeah.
I would say I love how you engage with the people that you're speaking with. And so you're really able to kind of like ask those really deep questions that really get good thinking down. And I really appreciated that, because I feel like you ask the questions that I have and I'm like, yes, okay, good. It's like he's in my mind with that. So I've definitely appreciated that.
And I did masters in software engineering, also bachelors in computer science and engineering. Right now I'm DevOps engineer. That is my full-time job. I'm a
Oh,
pure.
gosh, that's why you're up at midnight having this conversation with me. Oh my gosh, I hope you get a good night's rest after this.
Yeah, this is one last question. Me having a technology background, having a pure technology education, talking with different experts like you who are from different parts of the world, not only edge tech people, also pure technology people from Microsoft, Google, Netflix, also people from film industry, also people who are authors, writers, police officers, doctors, whatnot. All industry people I interview in order to understand the communication system between human beings, between different parts of the world on the planet. So what do you think I'm going to learn from this, and how I'm going to use this knowledge in coming days?
What a great question. So I would just have to say, if you, whatever background you're coming from, you're listening to this, be thinking about, okay, can I just try it? So even if you've not tried ChatGPT 3 or whatever, ChatGPT 4 or the new Bing Chat, or if you've never tried any of those different AIs, give it a shot, try it, interact with it to see what it can do for you. Also, see where AI has already been in your life, and you might be really surprised. So, when you mention Netflix, you're like, okay, well, when you get done watching a show, it auto-populates and say, hey, I bet recommended users would be this, this, and this. Or if you get on Amazon, I saw that you interviewed the Amazon guy, and you're like, okay, well, you've bought this, other users have bought this, or recommended these. That's AI. So I think the more that you're starting to realize, oh, artificial intelligence has been in my everyday, I hope it'll just, that recognition of it and then willingness to try it, I think will help you just better enhance different productivity.
It's a great feedback. I'll store this in my system. Can I put this audio and video clip on my YouTube channel, podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Oh, I would be so honored. Yes, thank you.
Can you share your presence to my listeners who are listening to this on my podcast? Your
Absolutely.
Online presence.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is at Stevie Frank 23, and that's where you can find me.
I'll put the link on the description, also on the screen. Also, I'll put your work on my website as well. People who finds our video on YouTube or our conversation on my website can see the work that you're doing and can learn from you and can do more, productivity things with you.
Well, thank you so much. And then I'm excited to, help amplify your amazing voice and podcast on my platform as well.
It's an honor. Thank you very much for your valuable time.
Thank you so much for your time too. I hope you get a good night's rest before you go back to that important work tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.